Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the What I Need podcast. And first and foremost, I'd like to apologize for not being as consistent as I would have liked. January has been a lot, and I'm saying this because we're at the tail end, and it was busier than I expected. I've been, I've been doing so much, and I underestimated what it would take for me to be on this journey. So, to my day ones, will you forgive me? And I'm going to try and do better. Okay. Part of the reason why, also, it's taken me a long time to put out this next episode is because I've had like a change of heart, in an ideal world, I'd be talking about, relationships and content and my top songs for the year and how the volume of how the ending of volume was because I finished it. But I'm still in a line from one of the shows I've been watching. The truth is I live in reality. And no matter how much I'd have loved to ignore the news and pretend that everything is okay and perfect and 2024 is a good year, and as long as I live my life the way I'm living my life and focus on myself and keep on working hard and doing all those things, that life is going to be okay. And this false sense of safety comes from the fact that when we watch the news, it's always about other people, and we're like, this can't happen to us, or it can't happen to me, because whatever is happening on the news, that happens to other people. But like I said, I live in reality, I live in the real world. I can't ignore what's been happening. The truth is, I'm a woman and I'm scared because I don't know if I'm next. I don't know if I'll make it home after a date. I don't know if my Uber driver isn't a killer. I don't know. I'm scared because I've also lost friends to femicide. And I know a lot of people who've gone through gender based violence. One of my friends was killed last year by a man she was seeing. And I still remember seeing the story on the news. Um, I remember sending her WhatsApp because she was MIA. And, just thinking like, yo, you know how you send those WhatsApps like wagwan with the emojis and everything, only to be added to her funeral WhatsApp group a few days later. And the last conversation I had both with her and her dad still haunts me up to date, and I still can't believe she's dead. And the truth is, we all know someone who's been affected by femicide, who's been affected by GBV, and it sucks. More than it sucks, it hurts. And like as you all know, this podcast is about my intrusive thoughts. And I've been thinking a lot because of what's happening, we can't ignore. And I just think that like if half the things that happened to Kenyan women happened to Kenyan men, then femicide would have been declared a national disaster or emergency years ago, decades ago. And the reason why GBV and femicide, they're all silent disasters, is purely as a result of how we treat victims and their families, whether alive or dead. In this country, being labeled or associated with a victim is almost a fate worse than death. There is no empathy. What empathy there is very little. It's mostly shock, it's mostly judgment. It's mostly a lot of analytics, a lot of analyzing, a lot of people trying to play detective, you know, a lot of people trying to find reasons as to why this person was killed, as to why this person was beaten up. That's why funerals are hastily organized. That's why police reports are quickly buried. That's why stories are quickly and purposefully forgotten. These are toxic coping mechanisms we employ as Kenyans because we are afraid of the truth. And the truth is, Kenyan women are not just dying or beating themselves up, they're being killed. And we have to acknowledge the difference. We are being killed. It's not accidents, it's not sickness, it's people we love. It's our spouses, our fathers, our brothers, our lovers, our friends. 75% of all femicides in this country are committed by people who are well known to their victims. Not strangers, not at least somebody you met on Tinder or whatever. These are like long term boyfriends, husbands, family members, long term friends. 75%. Only 15 of these murders are committed by like strangers. And we have to take these statistics with a pinch of salt because the cases that are not reported are way more than the ones we know about. And there are thousands, if not millions, of women right now in this country who are on the brink of death, being beaten and assaulted every other day, too afraid to speak up, too afraid to ask for help. People who have lost everything and have accepted their fates. We see them. A lot of us, we see them. We know somebody is going through something. And a lot of us do nothing because of a culture that promotes privacy over safety. Hashtag mambo ya watu wawili duve moja, hakuna kuingililia. We live in a country where we see someone being beaten and we don't intervene because it's between those two people. And gender violence and all these things goes two ways. But most cases, it's women. Women go through it a lot. And we're not undermining that men go through it. I think in some cases it's worse for men because when men speak up about violence, GBV, or if they're going through it, they're mocked. It's like funny. We like to normalize, like, ati ulichapa, ndio Raman, we feminize it. But for women, the reason why a lot of women don't go to the cops and will stay in that abusive relationship is or whatever is because 9 times out of 10, the woman will either go to their parents or they'll go back to and report or they'll go to the chief or they'll go to the cops and they'll be asked questions like ulifanya nini, what did you do, what caused this. And sometimes I like to believe the same way people say Twitter is not a real place. This January, the past few weeks, I've questioned whether Kenya is a real place because for some reason there are some people on Twitter um that think Shafi was right and Shafi started trending again. And people are saying Shafi was vindicated because of these murders, because what he said was true, and that if people listened to Shafi, these women would not have died. And I just want to say that that type of thinking is not only flawed, but extremely dangerous. And it scares me that people can confidently, brazenly go online and say such things. And the thing about Shafi's case, and I want us to talk about the Shafi debate because we have to address it. He himself has addressed it in interviews. The thing is, at the time, Shafi felt comfortable making the statements he made because it wasn't a direct reflection on him. Remember, as a radio journalist, he his voice is not necessarily his own, but a reflection of society. And what he said was an honest reflection on how a lot of men in this country view women. And in his own words, during an interview with The Nation, he said as to why he lost his job, he was not able to read the room at that point in time. He was not able to be empathetic. And he even said he did not survive 17 years in radio without being able to read the room, without empathy, because being a journalist calls for empathy. And he expressed how he wished that there was more empowerment in the media space, more training for journalists so that they're able to better address sensitive issues such as gender based violence, such as femicide. There is no vindication in victim blaming. I say this because a lot of these men who support Shafi consider him a victim of wrongful termination. They championed for him, they championed for his struggle since he lost his job on radio after a 17-year illustrious career. They they championed his struggles. They 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 empathized with him when he spoke about his finances, his depression, how he had to become creative and look for new opportunities, and how it's taken him 2 years to recover. And his struggle as being a dad and not able to maybe do the same things he was doing for his daughters as he was before when he had his posh job. And how it's taken him to, on all the things he's taken to be okay. This man, it was so easy for this man online to empathize and sympathize with Shafi and what he was going through. And my question is, why is it so hard for these same exact people to remember that these women who are being killed, these women who are being beaten up, that's somebody's mom, that's someone's sister, that's someone's bestie? Why is it so hard for us to be empathetic? If you can empathize someone for losing a job, and when I go online and I read these tweets, very few of these men call out Shafi, ask him to take accountability for the impact of what his statements did to the family of that young girl who became disabled and the trauma she went through from being pushed off a balcony and falling down 12 floors and surviving. Very few people hold Shafi accountable for the trauma of what his words did to that young girl. But these same people are so quick to label murdered victims whores. They're quick to label them cheap. They're quick to label them desperate. Where's the accountability? And I'd love to applaud Bian from Sauti Sol because he's one of the few celebrities in this country who always speaks up and calls out things immediately when he sees something is up. When he smells some BS, he's among the first people to put out a tweet, to put out a post. And when these things were happening, Bien said, victim shaming is as stupid as the act itself. Do better. We need to do better. Collectively, as Kenyans, we need to do better because victim blaming is toxic. And if Shafi himself can acknowledge what happened was not cool, was not okay, why are these people on Twitter so comfortable in positioning him as a champion for something he himself does not encourage? There are several reasons why victim blaming is toxic. One, it literally reinforces power imbalance. It actually just shifts the dynamic, It makes these women and these men, anyone who's a victim, who's going through whatever they're going through, it makes them feel like they are the problem, and whoever did these things they did to them was on the right. The perpetrators escape accountability every single time we call out a victim. We are allowing the criminals to escape accountability. It creates a culture of fear. The more victims you blame, the less victims will come forward. When people see other people being blamed or shamed for coming forward, it's just logical. Who's going to come forward and say, there's also this one, there's also that one? We need to step back and think about how many families right now in Kenya have lost someone but have decided to funika, hide that story, kill that story because they don't want the family to be affected or labeled as victims, or people to say, oh, baba nani, mtoto wako ndio ali. It's because of us. We are holding ourselves back as a society by not addressing these issues and by diverting attention where attention should be. We need to promote empathy. We need to promote understanding. We need to promote a culture of support. We need to encourage dialogue. We need to encourage conversations. We need to respect experiences. And I'll say this, I've seen a lot of leaders put out statements. I've seen a lot of MPs put out statements, shout out to Esther Passaris. I've seen so many people put out statements. I'm still waiting for the president and the first lady. I know they've sent people, their representatives, their advisors. We need to hear from them. We need to hear from them because this is a national issue. And we also need, CAK needs to do something about how these cases are being reported, both on mainstream media and blogs. And the lack of empathy on the blogs, all these whatever news platforms, how they're sensationalizing the stories about these women's lives versus what has happened to them needs to be addressed. I'd like to recognize John Alam Namu and African Uncensored for amplifying the fact that these women and these victims, they're not statistics. They're people. They are people. And I also like to recognize Nation Africa's gender and education editor, Dorcas Muga Odumbe, for highlighting why we need to stop shaming and start protecting. Um, African Censored is working currently right now with Africa Data Hub, and they're now tracking femicides in Kenya since 2016. And according to them, there have been at least 500 cases 500 cases reported between 2016 January and the end of 2023. And these are the ones that are reported. The United Nations, like I mentioned, the ones that are reported are much less than what's going on the ground. The United Nations office released a report in 2022. It's called the Homicide Country Data Report. And it said in 2022, in Kenya, there were at least 706 cases of femicide. That's 1 year. That means for every 100,000 women in Kenya, three are dying. Three are being killed. Not dying because they're sick, not COVID, not cancer, not accident, ya barabara. Killed. Violently killed. Violent deaths. And I'll say it again. If half the things that happen to Kenyan women happened to Kenyan men, this shit would have been resolved a long time ago. And I'm sorry for cussing. I'm triggered. I'm so triggered. I'm more than triggered. I'm scared. Because organizing events and marches and conversations are all well and good, but we need serious change. And I need our leaders to take what's happening in this country seriously. I don't know what an Airbnb act will solve, but it's not going to stop people being killed. Actually, I think it's going to kill a budding industry. 'Cause the issue is not with Airbnbs, the issue is with the people who kill people at Airbnbs. So regulating Airbnbs is not the problem. These people will still be there. You think if they put rules on Airbnbs, they'll stop killing, they'll stop beating up people. They'll just find somewhere else. They'll find somewhere else. And I need our leaders to think beyond clicks and think beyond PR and actually sit down and discuss meaningful change and solutions that will give us meaningful change. Because women need to feel safe. Everyone deserves the right to feel safe. And I'm thinking about all the women out there, all the single women. Actually, the ones who are dying are between 18 to 35. Tuko wengi. That's the bulk of the female population in this country. Those are the ones who are dying. We are the ones who are dying. Let me ask you, or let me put it this way. If you're a single man right now and you're hitting on a woman, you want to take her on a date, you want to take her out on dinner. Personally, right now, I don't know if I want to go on dates anymore because I choose life. I'd rather be alive than dead. And I'm just talking about regular dates, dinner, whatever, drinks, a cocktail, you're going to a nice lounge, whatever. I don't know if I want to risk my life like that, because that's the type of world we're living in. Let's meet for coffee at cafe in the middle of town where there's cameras in the middle of the day. Saa sita mchana. I don't know. Yeah, if right now, if somebody wants to invite me for drinks or to go out, let's go to be bar next door, whatever. I don't think I'm going. I don't think I'm going. I don't want to have a panic attack in the middle of summer because somebody might steal me, kidnap me, or kill me. I don't want that. And I know I'm not the only one who's going through this. Tuko wengi. And I want Kenyan men to understand how all these killings and everything that's going on, maybe it's not affecting you directly, but it will eventually. Because we're not feeling safe, we'll change how we behave. And we shouldn't. We really, really shouldn't, because it's 2024. As a woman, I should be able to go out. I should be able to have fun. I should be able to go on dates without worrying. I should be able to wear what I want. Let me wear what I want. Nobody has the right to attack me because of what I've dressed like. Nobody has a right to rape me because I wear a short skirt. Nobody has the right to kill me because I refuse to sleep with them. The world should not work like that. It shouldn't. And yes, we need to do a lot to change what how like to change our society in terms of morality, in terms of like how men and women relate with one another. I feel like those dynamics should improve and change, because that's part of the issue here. But that being part of the issue should not justify criminal behavior. It doesn't make it okay. It does not make it okay. And I wish we were talking about different things in January of 2024. I wish my reflections are different. But this is where we find ourselves. This is where I find myself. This is what's been keeping me awake at night. This is what I've been thinking about. And what I need from Kenyans is empathy. What I need from the Kenyan government is real tangible support. What I need from Kenyan leaders is to speak up, do more, pass meaningful legislation. What I need, and I applaud every single celebrity, every single influencer, every person with a platform who's taken the time to speak up on this issue, because it's not an issue that affects women only, it affects all of us. All the brands that have put out statements condemning this vile act, we see you, we applaud you, we appreciate you. Let's do better. Let's do better. Thank you.